won the Heisman, won a Super Bowl championship, and then to get a gold jacket in the NFL Hall of Fame. Tony Dorsett, here's. Rex, the other two are, one we've had at the club. Marcus Allen is the other one, and Charles Woodson. So only three. So let's enjoy the fact that we've got somebody here that delighted us and excited us over the years playing for the Cowboys. So great to be here. Did you guys enjoy Peyton Manning last weekend? Oh my gosh. He was outstanding. Got some ground to cover, but let's get things started. Gary Underwood, would you come up, lead us in a word of prayer?
Guys, I've been thinking about this all week long. We're going to do prayer a little bit different today, okay? I want you to join me. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Amen.
Thank you, Gary. Very appropriate on 9/11, 22 years ago today. Thank you for doing that. I didn't know. Listen, Rex, I didn't know Gary could. Oh, he's all music. My good church music director. I should have known that. That was very impressive. We'll remind everybody, if you could silence your phones. You can tell everybody who's watching right now they can listen live on the Buzz. They can go to our Facebook page or our YouTube page, either one, and watch live. Last week was outstanding. Hunter Yurchek is next week. And then after Hunter Yurchek, Peyton Hillis. I think Peyton will be really intriguing. I think Hunter is always intriguing as well. Hunter was very smart. Hunter got in here, he'll be what, 3-0 most likely before we hit the 4-game tough sled. He's learned on his scheduling at the Touchdown Club. You got to give him credit there. I want to thank our great sponsors, starting with 103.7 The Buzz. My man Roger Scott and Justin Moore and I started the show here this morning. Wes and Justin Acre, Wes Moore and Justin Acre, just interviewed Tony, doing it live. So 7 hours of live broadcasting. We appreciate the support of the Buzz. AY Media, Heather Baker does a great job of covering our Touchdown Club. Thank you, Heather. AY Magazine and AMP Magazine, thank you so much. Hatcher Agency, Greg Hatcher, thanks for all you do for this club behind the scenes with the Hatcher Agency and Popeye with Twin City Limo. War Memorial Stadium, 75 years, Rex, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, as they celebrate a really unique milestone in that history of that stadium. Arkansas Urology. Did you notice who won the 65-inch TV last week, Rex? It was a couple. One of them was wearing a Denver Bronco jersey, and one of them, the wife, was wearing an Indianapolis Colts jersey. So they won that. That was obviously in honor of Kickoff to Men's Health. Free screenings starting now, gang. Call Arkansas Urology. Do it now. It will make a difference. It will save your life. Don't put it off. I expect everybody in here to be doing that. Thanks to Christian and Scott Davis, of course, for their support of the club. Pulaski County Farm Bureau, Todd Dennis, Stephen Reichard, great service with great rates. Been doing it right for 75 years in Pulaski County. Appreciate it, guys, as always. Dairy Queen, 15 locations across the state of Arkansas. Blake and Nelson Lively, appreciate them, and Todd Denton, setting world's record every time here in Arkansas when they open a new location. Simmons Bank Arena. Now, Rex, I know you're excited about this. Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol will be September 23rd, 24th. Again, I would presume that's a kid's deal. I don't know, Mike, that is. And then you've got, Nickelback the 25th and Fantasia on the 30th. So you do a great job. You should be happy. Mississippi State won this weekend, right? All right. Thanks to Simmons Bank Arena. Summerwood Sports, the new superstar of sports facilities in Arkansas. Check them out if you got a basketball tournament that you want to do, camps, whatever. Call Summerwood. They'll take real good care of you. Appreciate the Hendricks family support of the Touchdown Club. Advantage Service Company, one call does it all. Kevin Brooks, thank you so much for your support, for what you do for the club. HVAC, plumbing, electrical, they do it all. Give them the chance first to work with you. Appreciate their support. Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings, they do it all. They, you name it. They do NIL. They do business estate planning. They do trusts, wills. I know Collins Hickman. Where's Collins at today? Collins, great to have you here today. One of their dozen or so business attorneys. Appreciate Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. Judy, thank you so much for your support of the club. Arkansas Democrat Gazette, Wally Hall, Amanda Copley, thank you so much. We'll have we got a stud today. All Arkansas Preps winner today is a stud. Great to have you here. I know you drove a long way, but thank you to the Democrat Gazette and their sponsorship. Crane Automotive, largest dealer group in Arkansas, 20 locations across the state. Thank you, Christian Crane, and your support of the Touchdown Club, Crane Automotive. Sissy's Log Cabin, legendary jeweler in Arkansas, 50 years ago, founded by Sissy Jones. We appreciate Bill and Sherry and Jim Englehorn, their support. Sissy's is outstanding. Doublebee's, Gas It, Grab It, and Go. Owner Steve Lytle and GM Ed Light. We appreciate that. Over 30 locations across the state, thanks to Doublebee's. Oaklawn Sports, I'm going to save a special recognition for them in just a minute, but that's about something we announced earlier today. And then finally, Simmons Bank Arena. We've got Chad Rawls and Jason Culpepper today. We can't do this. We can't have Tony Dorsett. We can't have Peyton Manning. We can't have all these folks, Jim McMahon, without all these sponsors. I know it takes a few minutes to recognize everybody, but that's, along with your memberships, it's those sponsorships give us the ability to be the best touchdown club in America, and that's the reputation we're building. So let's give a big round of applause to all of our... I also want to recognize Dwayne Duncan and Matt Johnson and Chris Kane and Brooks Irvine's agency, our man Rex Nelson, and all the people who come in here 2 hours before to set up. A team of guys set up all these things on your table. They come 2 hours early. All the ladies out there checking in, led by Debbie Wyman. Let's give all of our volunteers a big round of applause. Speaking of Chris Kane, Chris, would you come up and introduce our All Arkansas Preps Player of the Week?
Filling in for R.J. Hawk this week, who is called into a special session. So please welcome our All Arkansas Preps Player of the Week. Thanks to the Democrat Gazette for sponsoring this. And this one is incredible. Keep in mind, these numbers I'm about to announce are not passing. They're rushing. 45 carries, 400 yards, 6 touchdowns in a 43-22 win over Little Rock Christian. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bo Williams from Shiloh Christian. Should also note that Bo was honored here last year as our Player of the Week as well. He is a senior this year, so look forward to seeing where his career continues. David?
I tell you what, let's go ahead and, Rex, why don't you come up and give us the wrap-up for the weekend. A lot of exciting football. Give it up for Rex Nelson, everybody.
Thank you, David, and thank all of you for being here. Tony, great to have you at the best football club in America, as proclaimed by numerous people. Great to have you a part of it. All right, let's do this. Arkansas 28, Kent State 6, a very sluggish performance. David, maybe we ought to move all the home games to Little Rock, where they obviously play better. All right, Northwest Arkansas social media mob, don't come after me. Just kidding. This is the Little Rock Touchdown Club. The Hogs had come in as a 38.5-point favorite. So if you ask them to cover, sorry, you're out of luck. Kent State had lost 56-6 to Central Florida and Gus Malzahn, as Houston Nutt would say it, the previous week. Arkansas, though, is 2-0 for the third consecutive season. In fact, Kent State's 26 rushing yards, the fewest allowed by an Arkansas team since 2017. KJ Jefferson, 13 of 19, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was the 6th consecutive game in which he has thrown at least 2 touchdown passes. Arkansas scores touchdowns on interception returns in consecutive games for the first time since 2016, and so Arkansas goes to 4-1. Unfortunately, some of us remember Toledo, David, is the 1 on there, but they go to 4-1 all time against teams from the MAC. Big game, of course, was that new SEC team starting next year, Texas 34, Alabama 24 in Tuscaloosa. How about that? Quinn Ewers passed for 349 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Longhorns. Ole Miss, 37-20 over a ranked Tulane team in New Orleans. Tulane was without its quarterback. Jackson Dart for Ole Miss passed for 308 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Texas A&M, it's been kind of a rough start for the SEC. They get upset 48-13 by Miami. Now, you know, Jimbo went out and hired Bobby Petrino as his offensive coordinator. He may want a defensive coordinator now, David, as they give up 48 points to Miami. Elsewhere in the SEC, Georgia 45, Ball State 3, Tennessee 30, Austin Peay 13. But as I always say, P does have the greatest chant in college football. Let's go P. LSU 72. Grambling nothing. Wake Forest 36, Vanderbilt 20, Kentucky 28, Eastern Kentucky 17, Missouri 23, Middle Tennessee State 19. It was Auburn scoring late. I stayed up for that one. How many of y'all stayed up to 1 a.m. for that one? It was a good game. Auburn 14-10 over California. South Carolina 47-21 over Furman. Mississippi State 31-24 over Arizona. And Florida 49-7 over McNeese. The SEC goes 11-3 on the weekend. Very unusual, isn't it, to have Alabama down there with Vanderbilt as one of those teams that lost this weekend. Arkansas State, Shane told me to make this fast, has now scored a total of 3 points in 8 quarters. Memphis wins 37-3 in Jonesboro. All right, moving on. How was that, Shane? UCA is now 1-1. Following a 70-2 win over Texas College. Now, granted, Texas College had lost 96-0 the previous week. I'm not making that up. May be the single worst team in all of college football at any level. You say, what's UCA doing playing them? UCA originally was supposed to play UAPB, and UAPB got a late invitation to the Southern Heritage Classic, and there's a lot of money involved with that. So that's how it happened. They had to fill a hole in the schedule real quick. UAPB, speaking of, they fall to 0-2 with a 24-14 loss to Tennessee State in what's now Simmons Bank, our sponsor, Liberty Stadium in Memphis. Not a good weekend for our NAIA and Division III teams. East Texas Baptist beats Hendricks 38-37. Belhaven out of Mississippi beats Lyon 48-15. And Louisiana Christian beats Arkansas Baptist 55-18. Arkansas Baptist, there is good news. Texas College is on their schedule later this season, so they got that to look forward to. In the GAC, Arkansas schools are now 10-2 against the Oklahoma schools. Dang you, Arkansas Tech, that's the only 2 losses. Otherwise, I'd be 20-0 on my online picks. I picked Tech both weeks. Ouachita ekes out a 66-0 victory over Northwestern Oklahoma. Henderson 38-28 over Southeastern Oklahoma. Harding 49-10 over Oklahoma Baptist. UAM 58-21 over Southwestern Oklahoma. And Southern Arkansas over East Central 24-17 in overtime. Southern Nazarene beats Arkansas Tech 38-31. Now, this week, another big week. You got 8 towns to choose from. You got BYU at Arkansas, 6:30, ESPN2 game in Fayetteville. You've got Stony Brook. There's some good news, Arkansas State, coming to Jonesboro. You've got Miles College coming to UAPB. You've got 2 showdowns in the GAC, 2-0 UAM at 2-0 Harding, 2-0 Southern Arkansas at 2-0 Ouachita. You've got Henderson at Arkansas Tech, Southwestern of Texas at Hendricks, and Southwest Assemblies of God at Arkansas Baptist. So games in Fayetteville, Jonesboro, Pine Bluff, Searcy, Arkadelphia, Russellville, Conway, and Little Rock. No excuses. Please get out and see a college football game on Saturday. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Rex. Is everybody a little warm in here? A little bit? No? Okay, just wondering. I always sweat anyway. It doesn't matter to me. I always sweat, so it's all good. I'm just checking. Did want to say real quick, I thought last week to have 1,300, many of you were there, 1,300 people go through those buffets and get that thing done on time and get Peyton in and out of there, which he was very appreciative. Job well done for all of our volunteers, our staff, and all of you who came. That was really impressive. Next week we'll be back at the DoubleTree, and I think we're there for the duration now. I think that's it. So the other thing is that I got beat up on my show this morning. Roger beat me up too. Justin Moore beat me up even more. Is that this Texas Bama deal? Who do you want to win? So I wanted Texas to win. How could you root for Texas? Well, I don't want to root for Alabama. It's 2 big piles of poo. So it's really my preference of which poo is it going to be. So I'm tired of Alabama winning, and we beat Texas's rear end 2 years ago like a yard dog. And so it was really nice to see somebody go into Nick Saban's backyard, not only win, but win in double digits, which has not happened in a long time to Nick Saban. So the other thing is obviously Steve Sarkisian is a Broyles Award winner. Right. And so that may skew me a little bit in that direction.
So if you're my age and grew up in Arkansas, you can't root against Texas against anybody.
Yeah, well, I know. So you're rooting for Alabama?
Yes.
Okay, I got you. Listen, I gave my blood against Texas on the field. So where's Freddie Marshall? Freddie should be able to say whatever Freddie says. What do you say, Freddie? Oh, wow. Holy cow. Because you beat those suckers. They never beat you, Fred. That's why you don't worry about them. Good Lord. Check his drink back there. Hey, before we bring up Tony, big announcement at 10:30 today. You guys know this is the 28th year of the Broyles Awards. Hard to believe. And I think back, I remember I had on the selection committee Bo Schembechler, Darrell Royal, Frank Broyles, Vince Dooley, Grant Taft. So many greats that started that thing. And Coach Broyles wanted to recognize assistant coaches because he was the best. Nobody had better assistant coaches. He picked them and he trained them. Jackie Sherrill, Barry Switzer, Jimmy Johnson, Joe Gibbs, Hayden Fry, all those were under Frank Broyles. And so that's why we created the Broyles Award. And so we've been doing it for 28 years, and we brought in the best assistant coaches, many who have gone on to win national championships. Kirby Smart. Look at Lincoln Riley, the hottest coach in college football right now at USC. They've all come through Little Rock. Gus Malzahn, so many great ones have come through. About half of them, I think, have become head coaches. We're so excited to make a big announcement today. Number one, that Oaklawn, that's why I wanted to wait for this. We are combining 2 of the greatest sports brands in the state's history. The Broyles Award and the Oaklawn are coming together. Oaklawn has announced today that they and the Broyles Award, Oaklawn is going to be the presenting sponsor of the award going forward, number one. And then beginning in 2025, the Broyles Award is moving to Hot Springs and will be at Oaklawn. So let's give a huge round of applause to Oaklawn and the city of Hot Springs. Little Rock has been spectacular, been great. And obviously, we hope all the sponsors that are here will follow us over to Hot Springs. I know many are here today. But here's the thing we're dealing with. This is why Oaklawn just really helps us and really flexes their muscles. With the change in college football, there's a chance the Broyles Award will never be held in December again because you have the 12-team playoff. And so what happens now, all of a sudden, there's no Broyles Award in December. It's after the season in February. And so we just thought that Oaklawn would do an amazing job at putting together a great event. Horse racing is going on. You've got the unbelievable facility, hotel, casino, restaurants. And then it also gives us a chance to bring in current coaches. Like right now in December, you can't get a current coach to come in. It's a struggle to get the finalists in. But after that, we could get anybody who's won it before. We could get anybody to come in. It could be almost like a coaches convention for the Broyles Award. So I know Molly Harrell and Betsy are here today somewhere in the back, and Jeff Hildebrand and Wayne Smith. We're very excited. Thank you so much. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's diving in is going to help us raise this award even better. And all the guys from Hot Springs, all the business owners, we can't do it without you. It's going to be teamwork, and we hope everybody embraces it and helps us go to Hot Springs and make this thing, because it's really about honoring assistant coaches and honoring Coach Broyles' legacy, and then also helping to raise awareness and money for caregivers of Alzheimer's patients. And so that's what Coach Broyles' mission was. So let's give a big round of applause one more time to Oaklawn and the Broyles Award. Matter of fact, new logo, isn't it? Hey, Sharp? Oh, nice. Look, outstanding. All right, it is time to introduce our guests. You know, I've been fortunate, Rex. We all have. You look at some of the names that have come through this club: Mean Joe Green, Roger Staubach, Too Tall Jones, Larry Zonka, Earl Campbell, just to name a few. And this guy's right up there. If you get a list of the top 100 football players of all time, he's probably in the top 25. And he's got an amazing story. And let's have Steve Sullivan from KTV introduce us, our special guest today.
The pride of football-rich Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, Tony Dorsett was something special.
This is Dorsett. First down.
An instant sensation at Pitt, he rushed for 1,687 yards as a freshman. His senior season, ridiculous. 2,150 rushing yards, 22 touchdowns. He became the first ever college running back to reach 6,000 yards. He led Pitt to a national title, and he was named Heisman Trophy winner. TD Tony had the flair for the spectacular.
Big opening for Tony Dorsett. Look out, he's got great speed. 99 yards and a half. Dorsett down the sideline. Stays in bounds. Can you believe that?
In 1977, he became the first Cowboys running back to rush for 1,000 yards in his rookie season. Fast, elusive, and durable. Throughout the strike-shortened 82 season, and Tony had at least 200 carries and 1,000 yards in 8 straight seasons. In his career, TD Tony, 2,936 carries for 12,739 yards and 91 touchdowns. What an amazing career. Tony Dorsett is one of only 2 men in history that has won the Heisman Trophy, the Super Bowl, the College National Championship, and been enshrined in both the College Hall of Fame and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Please welcome football royalty, Tony Dorsett.
Welcome, Tony.
Good to be here.
Man, I was telling everybody that the first thing that impressed me, you look like you can still play. You know, you don't look like you've gained a pound. You look like you weigh 188 pounds, something like that. I told him last night. I said I wanted you. He was wearing a short sleeve shirt, and he flexed his muscles. And I said I want you to wear that tomorrow so you can. You know, you're almost 70, and but you didn't do it. But just go ahead and just squeeze it. Please squeeze it. Show what you do. Look at that. Look at that. Are you kidding me?
Over there.
But you obviously stay in great shape. You're living in Dallas. Last night, the Cowboys rolled, so you had to be happy about that, 40-0.
Absolutely. It's always good to see the Cowboys win.
You know, you said that you don't get to go to games very much because when you go, you can imagine what happens.
Yeah, it becomes work for me. I mean, I love the Cowboys. I love to watch. I love football, and I love watching the Cowboys play. But if I go to the game, it's kind of like a hassle, man. People. I don't mind signing autographs, but when I go to watch the football, I want to watch the game.
Sure, makes sense. Now you pronounce the name is Aliquippa. Is it? How do you pronounce that? Is your hometown?
You said
Aliquippa.
Aliquippa. Yeah.
Aliquippa. And so I've read about your mom and dad. I want to put the first picture up there if we can, Matt. So that's your mom and dad, and your dad worked in the steel mine, right?
He worked in the steel mills. Yes, he did.
And you said he was a tough guy but a loving guy.
He was very demanding. I mean, he was tough. He was a steel mill guy, steel mill working guy. My dad never went to school a day in his life, and he raised 7 kids and did a lot for us as kids growing up.
And you weren't that big, and I know that you loved to play football because your brothers mean the world to you. You grew up watching your brothers do all, and you want to be like your brothers.
Absolutely. I had 4 older brothers who were all outstanding athletes, and during the time as growing up, I mean, people in the neighborhood, they were all saying, well, you're going to be the worst Dorsett of them all. You're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. And it motivated me. I would say, hey, well, I'll show you. I said, you just wait, I'll show you. And it got me motivated. And fortunately, my brothers were all behind me. They were pushing me to get better. And fortunately, I ended up being a Pro Football Hall of Famer.
Well, I read one story because you were light, you weren't very heavy, that you would put rocks in your pant pockets to make a weight to play. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't make the weight limits. I would go. We had to go out. We had to wait. We had to obviously get weighed and this, that, and the other. And so I would put rocks in my pockets, so I could make the weight. And fortunately for me, it worked.
Well, you end up becoming a really good high school football player, and you said you were leaning towards Penn State, Joe Paterno.
Yes.
And then until they said something to you about position, and that was probably it for you there, right?
Yeah, that was the end. I mean, I had 4 older brothers, and I wanted to be like my 4 older brothers. They were all running backs. They were all outstanding running backs in high school. And Joe Paterno told me when I took a visit to Penn State that I was an All-American running back and an All-State defensive back. And he tells me, well, we want you to play defensive back your first year because they had John Capoletti, who won the Heisman Trophy. You see, and I said, well, Coach, I want to be like my brothers. I said, I want to run. I said, I mean, I could play defensive back, sure, but when Capoletti leaves, I said, you probably not going to want me to come be a running back because if I'm playing the defensive back, I'm going to be a damn good defensive back. So I was a little cocky at that time, but I was a good player, and I just said, hey, you're not going to let me play, and my dream is to be like my 4 older brothers, and that's to be a running back first.
Well, then you had a guy that came into your life, and speaking of the Broyles Award, Matt, if you put up the next slide. There he is, Johnny Majors, who was an assistant coach under Frank Broyles. I think he went to Iowa State, head coach first there, and then to Pitt. Obviously, he connected with you and your family. We'll get to Jackie in just in a minute, but talk about Johnny Majors.
Coach Majors was something special. When he first came in to the Pittsburgh area, the first thing they did was one of the athletes they wanted to recruit was myself, and he came to Aliquippa. And I'm like, who is this guy? He's got this real southern drawl. And I'm like, man, this is country if I ever seen country. And I said, I don't know if but I heard that, he was a great running back himself. And and I said, well, I'm going to take a chance. I said, I was going to go to Penn State. I was cleared to go to Penn State. I was going to go to Penn State, and I just said, well, when I went to visit Penn State, Joe Paterno told me, well, you're going to have to play, because they had John Capoletti, who was a Heisman Trophy with him, and they say, well, you're going to have to be a defensive back first, and then after Capoletti goes, we'll let you go over to be a running back. I said, but Coach, if I'm playing defensive back, I'm going to be a damn good one. And you're not going to want me to come to offense. I said, so my dream is to be like my 4 older brothers. I want to be a running back first. And so that's the whole thing that changed me from going to Penn State.
And Johnny Majors said that you were going to play running back. He was determined to let you play running back.
And Johnny was a running back himself.
That's right.
And he came into Aliquippa. When they came into the Pittsburgh area, one of the first places they ventured off to was Aliquippa, because Aliquippa was known for a lot of athletes, both football, baseball, basketball, whatever. We had a lot of great athletes there.
Well, this next coach, I think you had even a closer relationship. Of course, that's Jackie Sherrill, and Jackie will be speaking to us towards the end of the year. And Jackie was so complimentary. I was looking at some of the notes here. He said first of all, his nickname is Hawk. Yep. When he was little, his eyes were big, so they nicknamed him Hawk. He said, I believe, this is what Jackie said, I believe this gave him more peripheral vision to make those incredible cuts he made. Mm-hmm. He said he only weighed 155 pounds in high school. He said his speed made up for his size. I've always said speed increases size. He said, Jackie Sherrill said you were a legit 4'2" guy. Before we started talking about Bo Jackson and Herschel Walker, you were a 4'2" guy. Mm-hmm. So he goes on to say, he said, I put him in a tearaway jersey. And you helped make him illegal because that's all they would do is wind up with cloth in their hand.
Yeah.
And so he goes on to say this. The key, he said, to recruiting was to get to your mother. And do you remember what he did to get to your mother?
Yeah, well, yeah, he tried. He asked my mother for could he have some sweet potato pies? Could she make him a sweet potato? My mother loved to bake, and she loved to cook. And she was very well known for her sweet potato pies in Western Pennsylvania. And so when he came, he heard about the story about my mom. It was a good cook and all this. And he the first thing he did was to ask my mom, because she make him a sweet potato pie. And right then and there, he won her over. She was like, yeah, this is where we're going to go. You need to go to Pitt. You go to Pitt.
And he went on to say, too, he said, your mom never missed a game. Said wherever you were on the field, if you would receive a ball, I guess during practice, you would always sprint to the end zone on every play. He said you were the hardest practice player on the team. Something you don't hear that much of, but even though you were the star, you were the hardest practicing player. He said you were the player that could turn around the game on any play at any time. And lastly, he said, tell Hawk that his favorite coach said hello.
That's my guy.
Yeah.
Jackie Sherrill was a great player. He meant a lot to me. I mean, when I left Aliquippa, I was quiet and shy. I was introverted, and it was really hard for me to make friends at that time. I mean, I on the field I was fine, but after from walking around at the university on campus, and it was kind of hard for me to make friends. Everybody was like trying to figure out who is this guy? Who is he? Where is he at? They couldn't tell me because I was so shy. I was like, I'm hiding. But fortunately for me, it all worked out.
Think about this, y'all. I think you may still be the only one. I may be wrong, but I think you're the only guy that's been an All-American for 4 years. I know you were first-team All-American your freshman year, your sophomore year, and your senior year, and I think you were a second-team All-American. 4-time All-American, just destroys every rushing record as a freshman. And then, of course, by the time you get into your career, you obviously lead Pitt to a national championship in 1976 and win the Heisman. Yeah. That had to be pretty amazing from where you started to be able to be there and win a national championship for your, obviously for Pittsburgh and coach and your family.
That was great. It was, for me, a little small kid. When I went to Pitt, I was 155 pounds, soaking wet. And everybody thought that, and when coach them saw me, they were like, that's him? This little guy, this little tiny guy. But I said, and my whole theme was, I'm a thin piece of leather, but I'm well put together. I'm well put together. I can take it. I can take it. Let's bring it, and you'll see. And so, fortunately for me, I was lucky enough to have Johnny. Coach Majors obviously was a running back himself when he was in college. And the dream was, I was an all-state defensive back and an all-American running back. But my dream was to be like my 4 older brothers.
That's
I said,
right.
I want to be a running back first. And because my last high school game, it was like I had a monster game. I'm a name drop, but it's kind of a name drop. It was like Joe Namath's old high school, Beaver Falls, and I just tore them up. And it was like Penn State next stop was a big new bold
newspaper
prints in the newspaper of my hometown. And I was like, I wanted to go to Penn State. And then when I went to visit Penn State, Joe Paterno told me, he says, they had John Capoletti there, who was a Heisman Trophy winner his senior year. And he says, well, you're going to have to be a running back first. You're going to have to be a running back. A running back. Yeah. No, you have to be a defensive back. I'm sorry. You're going to have to be a defensive back. And I said, well, Coach, my dream is to be a running back. He says, well, you could play defensive back your freshman year, and then your sophomore year you could come over and be running back. And I was like, Coach, I wasn't being too cocky. I was just saying, I was pretty confident. Coach, I want to be a running back. I want to be a running back first. If I can't be a running back first, then we could put me at defensive back.
Well, you made the right decision. You end up being the second player picked overall in the NFL draft. I think it was Ricky Bell. I think might have been the guy ahead of you. But you go to Dallas, and we've had some great Cowboys here. I mentioned earlier Randy White and Roger Staubach. But Matt, if you'll go to number 4, this guy right here. No, let's go past that. Let's go to the next one. Let's show. let's show. There we go. That guy right there, Cliff Harris, number 43. Show the next picture too. Of course, this was the thing that we were all excited about. Is that he'd been waiting that long to get in. You'd already had your gold jacket. What do you remember about Cliff and what kind of guy he is?
Oh, Cliff was what a great teammate. He was a great teammate. He worked hard in practice. But the thing about it was he was a guy that he wasn't real gifted. I mean, as an athlete, but he worked hard. And you're talking about a guy, the key to success is hard work. He is a prime example of what you get out of it, what you put into it. He put a lot into it, and it worked for him.
And you said the nickname was Crash, and that was accurate.
Yes.
He could hit you. Probably would not be able to play much today because he'd be getting ejections and.
Yeah, I think you might be right. But he was a mean guy. He was a tough guy. He would play. He was what we would call a baller.
A baller.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one. Your coach. We talk about coaching in college, but obviously Coach Landry. I love this shot. I thought this is a great picture. I know Coach Landry didn't particularly like your running style or didn't understand your running style, but he learned what needed to be done blocking-wise to make you be the best you can be, right?
Yes. Coach Landry, he was used to bigger backs, strong guys running in there, just powering people. And I was a different type of back. I said, Coach, I run to what I see. You got to let me do my thing ad lib. I go to the point of attack. And after that, it's all impromptu. Now, I mean, I got to do what I do and see what I see. I got to react to it, and my reactions were pretty good. And finally, when Tom Landry, I'll never forget when the coaches, all the players, oh man, you Coach Landry, you're like his son, man. He does anything for you. But I said, Coach, I gotta run to what I see. I just can't run. I can't become a robot. I just can't just run into the back of people. I said, I got to run to what I see. And so Coach Landry came into the meeting the next morning, and he says, he got up in front of the team. He said, we got a different type of runner here, guys. He said, he runs to what he sees. He says, so what I want you to do as blockers, as linemen, he says, keep your hat on your man. It means your helmet. Keep your hat on your man, and he'll run to what he sees. And from that point on, all the guys said, damn, that's your daddy, man. He'll do anything. He'll do anything.
It worked, though.
He's changed his whole...
But it worked.
It worked. But he said he changed his whole style. That, you're going to do it my way or the highway. So now it was like, TD is going to run to what he sees. Just keep your hat on your guy, and we'll see what happens.
I know that times, I think you and him got into it. I'd read a little bit, but y'all had a good relationship. I love this next picture. You had him induct you into the NFL Hall of Fame. Of all the people you could choose, you picked him. I know that was a special moment.
Yeah, that was a very special moment for me. Coach Landry, we kind of had our differences, but I understood what he was doing. He worked me hard.
Hard worker.
He made me work hard and things like that. And sometimes as an athlete or as a person, you feel like you're being picked on. But he kept moving me, kept driving me, and it all paid off, and it worked for me.
This next guy we actually have had at the Touchdown Club. I love this picture. You talk about two iconic pictures right there. I mean, you got basically Captain America there in Roger Staubach and you. What are your thoughts about Roger as a teammate and the kind of guy he is?
He's special. He's very special. Roger was a guy that we as teammates as a team, when we're out on the field in the game, in the battle, in the heat of the battle, and it's like Coach Landry wanted things to be done a certain way. And we say, Roger, let's do it your way. Let's do it your way, man. Let's do this thing. Let's go win. He's not out here. He don't know how these guys are really reacting to our formations. He said, let's call it. And that's when Roger was at his best. Because he just took control and started calling plays. And the thing was Coach didn't have much to say when you call a play and it's successful and it works. So he said, man, let's keep working it, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, he's what a class act he was when he came to the Touchdown Club. I talk about iconic pictures. I've run across with some. By the way, too, Ernie Murray is here. We got a basketball Razorback. Good to see you, Ernie. Good to see you sitting there. There you go. Give it for Ernie there. I ran across a couple of these pictures and I had to show them. Let's go. Let's hit the first one. I think is number 10. Hey. Look at there. If that's not two of the greatest running backs to ever play the game of football, of course, again, Earl is a giant. He had big old thighs, and let's hit the next picture there of. And then this was obviously the All-Star game, All-Pro game, and then look at that. I mean, so what's your thoughts about Earl? He was a heck of a guy and a player, wasn't he?
He was one of the best ever. I mean, and Earl, I used to worry about him a lot because Earl, back in the day, the Pittsburgh Steelers and Houston, they were in the same division, in Pittsburgh and Houston, and the steel curtain was pretty doggone tough. And they would be hitting Earl. I was like, Earl, let one man tackle you sometime. Just let one man tackle you. I said, especially with you at the Steelers. I mean, he was like he was King Kong. I mean, there would be two guys, and one big guy down on his foot, and one be on the other foot, and he's just up there. I said, man, Earl, you're tough. I said, you're tough, but I said, man, how long do you think that can last? I said, man, find out a way, man, to just get down. If you can't go anywhere, get down. Finally,
and of course, and he's having trouble. I mean, he's not near as healthy as you. He's got some bad legs, but what a class guy. Talk about another iconic picture I ran across. Sweetness, Walter Payton and Tony Dorsett right there. Yeah. What's your memories of Walter Payton?
That was my guy right there, Walter Payton. Walter Payton he set the. I guess you say he set the example for all running backs back in that time. He was a guy that was a hard. He's playing in Chicago. Chicago wasn't winning SHIT. I don't know what that spells, but anyway. But he was a guy that he worked his butt off. He worked his butt. He worked, and he was a guy that I looked up to as a running back in the league. I wanted to be like Walter Payton. I wanted to be as good as Walter Payton or better than Walter Payton. So he set the level at that time. Yeah,
a great guy, great player. What about this next? You set all the records. You break Jim Brown's record. You do all that, and lo and behold, a Cowboy follows you in Emmitt Smith and breaks everybody's record. What's your relationship with Emmitt? What kind of player did you think he was?
I didn't think he should have broke all the records. No, Emmitt Smith is my man. He's a good guy. He's a great player, a good teammate. I just admire the fact that he was a guy that would show up. I mean, week after week after week after week, and he was going to show up and he was going to play. He was going to get his best. The other picture, I happened to run across this one. I want you to look at the expression you're giving Herschel Walker. So for those that don't remember, Dallas traded for Herschel at the time Tony was still running. And so that look was probably how you felt about Herschel because he was taking away some of your carries. Yes, it was. But, you stick around long enough, somebody will come along and replace you. And that was what happened. And Herschel, man, I was like, I'm looking at this guy, man. I'm saying, hold up. And coach, I said, give me a coach. I mean, just don't give my job away. I mean, let's fight for it. Let me fight for it. But, he was a guy, he was a prototype NFL player. He was so big, and he weighed so much, and he was fast. He was fast, but we became pretty good friends too.
And of course, that led to you going to Denver. That's
Yes,
obviously
we did. Sure
you
did.
had enough of that and went to Denver.
Yeah, I was like, man, I still got some playing time left. I said, let me go somewhere else, and they did.
Let's go back, Matt, to number 4, and that's the video. We saw it in Sully's Open. I think all of us over the age of 50, especially, well, not to be, I won't even say it. Everybody in here probably remembers where they were that night when this happened on Monday Night Football. I want you to listen to Howard Cosell and Frank Gifford talk about this, and it's going to show 2 ways of this play. This is the 99-yard play. They're going to show it from the shot you saw it, and then they're going to show it up the middle. And it shows really your amazing ability and speed, and I love hearing the comments by the Monday Night crew.
The ball just over the goal line of the Cowboys. Dorsett, single setback. Big opening for Tony Dorsett. Look out, he's got great speed. 99 yards and a half. Dorsett down the sideline. Stays in bounds. Can you believe that? Short, because they're 89 yards. Short yardage defense.
They'll show it again here. Listen.
And that's the 99.5-yard run, I think, is the longest run in the history of the league.
It is.
So now they're alive, put to the biggest test of all, and suddenly the whole momentum changes. But they were bunched up for the short yardage defense, and Gifford called it.
Let's start bragging on them all of a sudden. Y'all want to? Who is that poor lady? She must have been a Minnesota fan.
Off mic, Frank said he'll bust it all the way. If you believe that, you'll believe anything.
All right. Great. Herb Scott. The guard has been out for a few days. Good block, middle linebacker.
What a cut right there.
Down here, Don, to stay in bounds was a great piece of athletic skill. I didn't think he would make it. Is that Willie Teal there, I believe, isn't it? And all of a sudden, he just kept his balance and right in there. That's wild.
Longest run previously, 97 yards.
By Andy Urim of the Green Bay Packers back in 1939. Bob Gage did it for Pittsburgh against the Bears in 1949. Tony Dorsett has just taken it the length of the field.
All right, how about that? How about that unbelievable historic deal? Now,
Not bad.
not bad.
I like that.
Now, Derrick Henry has tied you now. Did you see that run, Derrick Henry's done?
I saw Derrick's run, but
yours looked better.
It was a little bit different than mine, you know. Mine was a little better, yeah.
Does anybody know the trivia question that what was unique about that play? Only 10 men on the field for the Dallas Cowboys. You didn't even have one of your blockers in there for you. You still went 99.
Right, you know, and you know how that happened? It was because of me. I heard a play being called, and we run that play from either our single back formation or the I formation. And I told our fullback to get out, because if we were running in the I formation, our fullback run it. But if it's single back, it was me. And I just heard I thought I heard that formation. We called it Jayhawk, because it was from Jay Saudi, and my nickname is Hawk, and so it was called. So we called Jayhawk. I heard Jayhawk being called, and so I ran out on the field, and I told Ron Springs, our fullback, to get out. I said, because I'm the single back guy. So he runs to the sideline, and he runs to the sidelines, and the guys. Said, you got to get back out there. You got to get back out there. Said, man, we only got 10 men on the field. And Ron looked at him and said, man, are you crazy? He said, if I get a penalty running out on that field, he said, Coach Landry will cut me right on the spot. He said, we can run a play with 10 men on the field, so just let it go. And fortunately for me, if it would have been him, if he came out there, it would have been him. At fullback would have ran the ball. So I said, thank you, Jerron, for let me run the. You guys did longest run in history. Yeah.
You didn't win the game. That's okay. It's obviously everybody who stayed up as a little kid watching that obviously appreciates that run. Let's put up the number 15, Matt. So this is a shot of the 3 things that you've won: the Heisman, Super Bowl, and your NFL Hall of Fame bust. Which one probably you think means the most of all 3 of those? All of them are very, exceptional. There's only a handful of guys, like I said, 3 that have done that. Which one do you like that you think means the most?
They're all exceptional. awards, and for me, you know, being considered the best. When I went to college, I was 155 pounds, and everybody thought I was just going to be too small to play major college football. I'm going to do this, and to do what I was able to get accomplished at the University of Pittsburgh means a lot to me. I mean, because it was like, here I am I went to University of Pittsburgh as a young boy, and I left there as a young man. And because of the work, the ethic that Coach Majors and Jackie Sherrill and those guys put into us and to me, it helped make me become obviously a good pro player as well. But
and one of the things you said at your inductment into the NFL Hall of Fame, you said you were a reminder for all the kids out there to say, you know, you can dream and you can achieve great things. Look where you came from. Look where you grew up. Look at your size.
You can do it too. That's what I tell them all the time. You can do it. Because I hate to cut you off, but the fact that, you know, I was. You got to do the little things. I always tell the kids when I talk to them, you got to do little things. Little things make big things happen. It's what you do. You got to do. You got to work. And our teammates used to always say, TD, man, why you work so hard, man? You work so hard. The coaches make all of us work hard. I said, look here, man. I got mine. I said, you got yours doing it your way. I got mine doing it my way. I don't feel like I'm any better than anybody else on this field. I like to work. I like to work and keep progressing. I said, so don't expect me to be the guy to help you.
Well, and that's why you are one of the greats of all time. Last thing we'll ask you here. I think your contract with the Cowboys, your first contract, I think it was your first one, or one of your main ones, was 5 years, $1 million. So you got basically $200,000 a year. Do you look at the numbers now? Joe Burrow just signed a $275 million deal.
Yeah,
Is it tough knowing that you didn't play? I know.
Man, unbelievable. I tell you, but I'm happy to see that, you know, the players are getting what they deserve to have. But yeah. Back in the day, man, it was hard to try to make money of that magnitude. Especially you still had the same. Most of the stadiums were still the same size, but you know it was just the way it was. And, you know, the Players Association got hip to how much money was being made, and they started to make the teams distribute it.
Do you think the game is better now because it's safer? You know, you and Cliff played in a high impact, you know, not real safe game, and they're trying to protect. Do you think it's going in the right direction?
Absolutely. I mean, there were some players that would do some things. I mean, people say, you know, some people say they'd do anything to win, and there were a lot of guys that were doing that. There was a lot of late hits. There was a lot of spearing people with the helmet, and it was for the best of the game. Yeah.
What we're going to do here is that this is what we're going to ask. Tony said he'll be glad to take pictures with everybody here, but let's just not do the autograph thing. We can't do both because it'll take an hour and a half to get through here. So if you just love to come up here and get you a picture with Tony, he'll be glad to do that. And by the way, too, I did get a chance to introduce her. Susan Story is over here. Susan is with the management company that books and follows and keeps Tony in line. She's been a great job. Please let's welcome her, please. Susan Story. Thank you for being here, Susan. Tony, it was an honor to have you here, and I know you don't have to make these kind of appearances. And for us at this club to have you here, you're one of the greats of all time, and you're very humble, and we appreciate you. We wish you the best of luck, and let's give him a round of applause. Tony Dorsett, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Great job. All right, man. You did it.
All right.
Oh, we're going to come right this way. Thank you. Great job. I just put it right here. Thank you for being with us today. Really enjoyed it. I used to cover the Cowboys when you played, when I was a young sports fan. Yeah, so it is great seeing you again. Yeah, we're going to get pictures.